So, would you find it surprising if I told you that over most of the last century, the most popular method of long-distance overland vehicle-based expeditions has been by open-top vehicle? Well, if you don't believe me, stay tuned, because we'll be talking about it. The first main reason is largely based on our kind of link to old school military and the early desert explorers like Ralph Bagnold, Guy Pendergrast, Count Dalmasy, and even Vladimir Peniakov. Now, all of those early desert explorers in vehicle-based expeditions basically were all banging around the deserts in Egypt and crossing into Libya in old Model T Fords back in the late 1920s, early 1930s. And they were basically stripped down Model T trucks. And then later on, when World War II occurred and the Desert War was occurring, the Special Forces groups like the Long Range Desert Group, Popsky's Private Army, and the SAS were once again out in the deep desert in stripped down open top trucks, no doors, windscreen roofs. And so, because part of the ethos of Popsky's private expeditions is military and doing things in a very military way, that just works for us. And it pays a tribute to the original military and early desert explorers. And also part of it too is that we just want to experience the desert the way they did back then, nearly a century ago. The second reason we prioritize open-top vehicles is probably the same reason as the early desert explorers and the World War II Special Forces units, and that's because of weight. Now, when you're in the desert and you're doing long-distance travel, largely unsupported, especially like the Long Range Desert Group, doing patrols of 1,000, 1,500 miles, weight becomes really important. And for every extra kilogram or pound you load on a truck, it's going to affect your drivetrain. It's going to put more stress on the drivetrain, more stress on the suspension. And so you really have to prioritize the things that are essential: fuel, water, food, spare parts, and in, of course, a wartime context, arms and ammunition. And so for us, it's the same kind of thing, that in the places we go, there's no petrol stations. And so we got to carry everything with us. And so if it's something you don't need, windscreens, roofs, doors, they're all heavy. And so we strip them off, we put them into storage while we're in the desert, and we focus on just essentials for the trip. And we have a theory we call mechanical sympathy. I know it's not unique to us, but basically it says that you want to reduce the stress on your vehicles as much as possible, not be thrashing them in the sand, not revving the crap out of the engines, because it's more likely to break down. You're going to break a component if you're not giving your vehicle mechanical sympathy. And so we do our best to reduce stress, and a big part of that is reducing the weight as much as we possibly can. The third reason we prefer open-top vehicles actually has to do with a bit of the human element. So most people don't know this, but on average, if you're out in the desert in an enclosed glass and steel modern vehicle, the temperature inside the truck is often 10 to 15 degrees Celsius hotter than outside. A glass and steel 4x4 essentially works like a big oven, and the temperatures inside can actually cause heat injuries. We've had crews in enclosed vehicles just a vehicle and a brake staggering because of the heat that they're facing. Now, you could run air conditioning, but air conditioning consumes a lot of fuel and puts extra stress on your engine. And the air conditioning system is still sucking in the same dusty air, hot dusty air that you have outside, and so that'll clog up your air conditioning system and just coat the inside of your truck with dust. You could have the windows open and get a bit of air coming in. The problem with that is, as you're moving along, it creates negative air pressure inside the vehicle, which essentially means you're sucking in all the dust and sand. And it's quite funny that we see people who don't want to be in an open-top vehicle emerging after a stage in the desert, literally coated with dust, having to wear some kind of mask inside their vehicle because they're breathing in so much dust, and everything inside the truck is just completely covered. And that's because by having an enclosed vehicle sucking in air through the windows, it's going to create a mess inside your vehicle. And the other thing to remember too is the front windscreen, though it's not a magnifying glass, basically acts to focus heat inside the cab of the vehicle. So for just so many reasons, it just creates far more stress on the vehicles and the crews having an enclosed vehicle. And then the final reason why we prefer stripped down trucks is because, to be honest, it's the experience. If you want to stay in a enclosed glass and steel air conditioned bubble while you travel across some remote countryside, you might as well stay home and watch it on the Discovery Channel. It's a much more rewarding experience to be in the environment, feel the wind on your face, smell what's happening as you're driving by, and just be part of the experience rather than viewing it through some climatic controlled self-sealing bubble. So for us, we found that once someone's done a trip in an open-top truck, going back to an enclosed vehicle just is not an appealing idea. So yeah, it's just a far more rewarding experience being in an open-top vehicle. And that leads me to my statement at the beginning about the most popular form of long-range international overland vehicle-based expeditions being open-top vehicles. It's true. And that kind of vehicle has two wheels, and it's a motorcycle. There is no place on the planet you can go in a vehicle, a typical vehicle, where motorcycles haven't already been. Motorcycles are everywhere, and they have many advantages and quite a few disadvantages. But why do motorcyclists love their bikes? What's unique about the motorcycle experience? And it's that you are out there in the environment. You're not encased in a very expensive glass and steel climate controlled bubble. You are part of the environment. It's a much more visceral experience. And motorcycling, two wheels, open top, is the most common form of long-range expedition travel, and has been since really the motorcycle appeared and became available. So, for those four big reasons, Popskis will always focus and prioritize what we call a Category 1 open-top vehicle. So, there you go. There's something to think about next time you want to come out or plan your own overland expedition.